Hello, welcome to another Purple Insider Extra. Matthew Coller here, along with Sam Ekstrom, as always, inside TCO Performance Center. We just got done listening to Sean Mannion. Yes, Sean Mannion talk about returning to the Minnesota Vikings. He comes back in a practice squad capacity. He can be moved up, though, to the starting lineup if they need him to twice without being put on the active roster. That's the new rules. But Sean Mannion is basically the backup quarterback, I think, but Kellen Mond will technically be QB2. It is a unique circumstance here in 2021 with all of the roster maneuvering, Sam, but I get the sense that Sean Mannion is the guy who is the backup, and that's why he's here. And Kellen Mond is QB3, but will be QB2 on game day. So if there's, sorry, I'm getting through this. If there's an injury during the game, Kellen Mond will come in. But if there needs to be a starter, like if Kirk Cousins was hurt during the week and there needs to be a starter, it would be Sean Mannion. Is that how you interpret this?
It is. And I think when you have a mobile quarterback like Mond that the opponent will not have prepped for, that can sometimes be effective if you have to face someone that can freewheel a little bit and run around for one half of football. That can maybe win you a game if you're the Vikings. But if it's a week of preparation, you're probably going to go with Mannion. So this is, it's really the softest possible fail-safe to have a backup on your practice squad. And I think the team believes that Kirk Cousins is just generally going to stay healthy and they may not even need to activate him, but they want him in the room. His biggest benefit is helping Kirk prepare during the week. And if he's on the practice squad, he can do that. So they don't make a splash. They don't go after Cam Newton, but they do get someone who has a bunch of organizational knowledge, now his third year in the system, someone that has great rapport with Kirk Cousins and vice versa. So this is a move that made sense. It's a move that we anticipated. And he's back. They got him.
He's back. They got their man. Sean Mannion talked for about 10 minutes about the longest backup quarterback conversation.
Practice squad backup.
Practice squad backup. Maybe the first time we've ever had a 10-minute press conference. But Mannion talked about working with Kirk and how close that they have become over the last few years and how much they help each other. And I think that that's a major factor here because that's something that Kellen Mond can't really do with Kirk Cousins, as Kellen Mond is still learning how to be an NFL football player. It helps from that perspective. Also, Sean Mannion started out in the Rams organization running Sean McVay's offense. That's similar to what they do here. He has a lot of knowledge about what they've done with Clint Kubiak's offense over the last couple of years that was Gary Kubiak's and Kevin Stefanski's before, but they've carried over a lot of the same things. So they get a quarterback who can step in right away if he is needed, can be elevated off of the practice squad. So from that perspective, I understand the move, and everyone appreciates Sean Mannion. There are very few people you'll ever run into, I've never run into anyone who have said anything other than great things about Sean Mannion, his smarts. And we've seen he does have physical ability. He has a really good arm. It's just when has he ever gotten a chance to show it off? However, I do think there was a case here for trying to chase a big fish. I don't know if you agree with this, but they have treated this roster like they're going to push all the chips to the middle of the table, do anything they possibly can to improve it, including bringing back Everson Griffin. And with the backup quarterback situation, they took out a 4-iron and they hit it down into the fairway. They did not pull out the driver and try to get the best possible player. And who knows if Cam Newton would have signed here. But it's just an interesting approach to handle some of the other roster situations as if caution to the wind. And this one, they said, let's make sure we get someone very safe.
Yeah, and I think it speaks to a few different things. Number one, maybe the fragility of your starting quarterback. They've never wanted to threaten Kirk Cousins with any kind of competition, and even bringing in Kellen Mond was kind of bold for this team. And I don't think Mond has actually been a threat to Kirk now that we've seen him play. But they've always wanted to keep things very simpatico in that quarterback room. And Newton probably rocks the boat a little bit. That's a quarterback that's obviously been around a decade. He's been to a Super Bowl and was a starter as recently as last year. Very high profile. Number two consideration is that your quarterback room would be entirely unvaccinated. And that is a problem for this coaching staff, as they've voiced many times. So and there's a system learning curve too. Like
Right.
you bring in anyone at the 11th hour, it's just harder to pick up on this offense. Sean Mannion gets it. He already knows it. So I understand why they went the safe route and didn't try to hit a home run. Is that the best possible philosophy? No, it's kind of a little bit archaic, but I understand why the Vikings went that path.
Well, once upon a time, a team brought in Randall Cunningham to be a backup. I'm just saying. But with Sean Mannion, they could put him on the practice squad. That means they can keep other players at different spots. Don't have to cut it of anyone. So there is that benefit too. I just thought it was worth bringing up that maybe there was a guy who has previous starting experience. But I think you make fair points for why they wouldn't do that. Now, Clint Kubiak also spoke today, and he talked about being up in the booth now. So he started the preseason on the sideline, and then Mike Zimmer said, I put him up in the booth because he felt like Kubiak was being distracted by wide receivers and players talking to him on the sideline. Do we make anything of Clint Kubiak in the booth, Sam?
I understand why the booth is preferable to the sideline, and different coaches are going to have their different philosophies. I think Kevin Stefanski talked about preferring the sideline because he likes getting the vibe. I mean, he just liked taking in sort of the emotions and the chatter and hearing the feedback. And it sounds like that was sort of what was throwing off Clint Kubiak when he was on the sideline. Obviously, his dad was up top, and maybe he was whispering in his ear too, hey, like, this is preferable. And if it were me, I would want to be up top because you can just see way more. It's hard to watch football from ground level. So I think it might be a good move. I'm just concerned that they're still figuring it out, that they don't know or have conviction about what they want to do at this stage. And we just don't know much about Clint Kubiak at all through the preseason. He kind of had to hold the hand of his two backups through most of those games, didn't get to have the full play calling menu when the starters were on the field. They didn't have a lot of the main pass catching weapons, and they were not very productive. So I don't know if we've seen really what he's going to be in the regular season. Perhaps they're holding back some of the wrinkles, but I haven't seen a lot of creativity or anything different to suggest that this is going to be like new and improved Kubiak 2.0. As of now, it feels sort of like extension of Gary with a less experienced play caller, which is frankly concerning to me. I think week one will be extremely telling to see what the direction this is going to go. But Clint Kubiak might be kind of a yes man. I think he's going to do what Zimmer wants him to do, and that includes, going up to the booth perhaps.
Don't you think there's a wide range of outcomes with Clint Kubiak because he is on the younger side, and we don't really get a sense from speaking with him exactly how he's going to do things. He's not very open with the media in terms of telling us, here's how I'm going to scheme, here's all my creative ideas and so forth. So it's really going to have to be, let's see how it plays out, and let's see if some of the maybe edges of efficiency, call them that, can be utilized a little better this year. So last year they ran a lot on 2nd and 10. In fact, you wrote about it last year more than anybody else in the NFL. They ran on 2nd and 10, which is the least efficient down and distance to run the football, aside from maybe 3rd and 10, 3rd and 15 or something. But even then, like you're playing it safe and not turning the ball over in that situation. But 3rd and 10, you're setting yourself up for a 3rd and long. And so we'll see if they decide to do that. In the preseason they did, but I'm not making much of that. Now when it comes to, will they use more motions? Will they have a high play action percentage like they have before? Things that have been proven to work, will there be more of that? Because even under Stefanski to Gary Kubiak, their play action percentage wasn't quite as high. And so I think what we're seeing now is teams really lean heavily into that. Do you have a guess? I have no guess. I really don't know how this is going to play out with Clint Kubiak, but those are some of the things that we'll be looking for.
Yeah, when you live on the extremes, you're living dangerously. And the Vikings are an extreme offense in how conservative they are, if that makes sense at all. Like, they are by far the fewest 3 wide receiver sets, and maybe the injury to Irv Smith will actually normalize that a little bit. I mean, Mike Zimmer has said as much that they're going to use more 3rd wide receivers, and that might, make them a little more league average in that sense. And hey, maybe it'll work really well, and maybe that'll sort of become the norm here. But if it comes to creativity and wrinkles, I haven't seen a ton to suggest this is going to be different than last year. I think motion is probably still going to be in the back half of the league. And are we going to see any, end arounds or flea flickers? I don't know. I appreciated Kevin Stefanski occasionally trying to get Stephon Diggs to throw the ball.
Tried it.
Didn't work very well. And I don't know if we're going to see any of that or any wildcat from Clint Kubiak, who is just trying to get comfortable in his own skin.
Well, Kevin Stefanski used to say it's not the plays, it's the players, or something like that. So I guess it's up to
the Johnnies and Joes, not the X's and O's.
That's right. That is exactly what he used to say. So maybe we'll end up making too much of a new offensive coordinator. We will see. If you want to hear longer discussions about such things as this, and we also talked about if Mike Zimmer were to ever write a book, which chapter we'd turn to first on the Purple Insider podcast. That was a fun discussion. So make sure you go wherever you get your podcast, check that out. purpleinsider.substack.com for our Friday mailbag, our written features, and all of our reporting from TCO Performance Center. We'll catch you guys later.